It is Dan the Hangman Hooker joining me here. Dan, how's it going, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Just working hard in the gym, getting ready to get on that plane and head over to Fight Island.
Yes, and I'm sure just happy to get a fight booked. I know there was a lot of uncertainty as to if this fight would come to fruition. I wanted to start there, actually. Was there a point you thought you might not get on UFC 257?
That's really just not the way you can. That's not the way you can approach a fight. That's not the way you can think about a fight. When you get approached about a fight, as soon as they say the name, it's either you're in or you're out, and that's 100% in or 100% out. There's no, yeah, I'll train and I'll do the conditioning and I'll do the wrestling and I'll do all this extra work and this hard work just in case this fight comes through. As soon as I was approached with the name, I started training like this fight was locked and loaded, and that's the way I've been training the entire time. Like, regardless of what's been going on behind the scenes, I wanted to be as prepared as possible for this fight.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to see it come to fruition. I wanted to know, actually, when Chandler actually signed with the UFC, which was actually a while ago, was he someone you felt like was going to be, you felt like you were going to fight him at some point? Because it seemed like that would have been a pretty logical fight. It seemed like the UFC thought very highly of him.
Yeah, like I wasn't that fussed about it until they put him as the backup for the title fight, the backup for the Gaethje Khabib fight, and then I realized how much stock the UFC was putting into him and how much they believed in him, and that's when he popped up on my radar. As soon as they put him as the backup, I stuck my hand up and said that I would welcome him to the UFC. I would welcome that challenge. And here we are now.
And you're coming off, a loss, but a fight that I think everyone felt was like the fight of the year. I mean, people doing their, year-end lists, your fight with Poirier was definitely at the top. What did you take away the most from that performance that you're bringing into this fight?
Not too much. Not too much from that fight. Yeah, like it is what it is, that fight. Like, I went out there and tried to jump on an opportunity. You know what I mean? I went for it. At the end of the day, I rolled the dice. I tried to get him out of there, and I went for the finish. I knew full well that was 100% a decision to try and take him out, and get the job done in that second round. People can say what they want. Oh, you should have, done this. You should have done that. You should have done that. Man, I was 1 or 2 shots away from being the main event on this card against Conor McGregor, and me as a fighter, as a competitor, like, I'm gonna take that risk 10 times out of 10. I'm gonna roll those dice, and that's the game we play. It's like, am I in the position I am now because I play it safe and fight conservatively? It's like, the fans know my name because of the way I fight and the style in which I fight. So yeah, it's just embedded in me. It's just part of who I am to fight like that.
Yes, and like I said, really awesome fight. I know, again, not the result you wanted, but that's what you're known for, Dan. You take risks, you fight top competition, and that's probably why you're getting this co-main event slot, on this card, which is great. One thing I actually wanted to know as well, that fight was in June of last year, and obviously there was some wear and tear from the fight. Ideally, when were you looking to fight after that? Did you have is now the right time, or are you trying to get in there a little bit sooner?
I put my hand up. I would say I was ready to go November. I was like itching for a fight, but I spoke to my coaching team. I spoke to Eugene, and I understand exactly where he was coming from. He told me, I am not going away one more time this year. Like, regardless, like, he had obligated himself for a big boxing fight over here, Junior 5 versus Joseph Parker, which is going down in New Zealand. Now it's going down in February. It got rescheduled, but he'd obligated. That's a teammate of mine on a huge fight that could change his life and set him up for a world title. But yeah, Eugene had done, I think he was like the most quarantined man in the entire world last year. So I definitely understood that he wanted some time off and he wanted to stay in New Zealand. But this fight popped up, and it popped up in January, so I jumped straight on it.
Are there any opponents that remind you of Michael Chandler? One that kind of came to mind was Al Iaquinta, just because, Iaquinta's got good wrestling. He's got some knockout power. Is that kind of how you look at Chandler? Or is there any other opponents that, in terms of preparation for this fight, that remind you of Michael Chandler?
For sure, I would say, obviously they're a little bit different, but they're both got a great right hand. Both of them carry like a really good right hand and have a very strong wrestling background and wrestling base. So yeah, I think there are on the surface some pretty big similarities, but when you actually go and watch their fights and delve into them, they're two completely different animals.
And your last opponent, Dustin Poirier, pretty respectful guy, not going to talk any trash. Michael Chandler's kind of the same way. Do you prefer that in terms of a lead up to a matchup, or do you want someone that's going to kind of get under your skin a little bit?
To be honest, it's all fun for me. I enjoy it, but I don't know if it's a Kiwi thing or something down here in the South Pacific, a Kiwi Australia. We're just a bit of banter. It's just having a bit of fun. You poke a bit of fun at your mates and they poke it back. We have a bit of fun with our teammates and it's all fun and games to us. But yeah, it sucks when, Dustin Poirier is the nicest guy in the world. Michael Chandler's from the same book. He's the nicest guy in the world. Do you
feel like the pressure's more on him because of the fact that he's sort of this big name signing coming over and they had him as the backup as the title fight? There's a lot of pressure on him to perform. Whereas, you've been a more seasoned vet in the UFC, so to speak.
I feel there's definite pressure on both of us to do well, but I feel like you're under as much pressure as you put yourself under. That's just what pressure is. You can, and at this level where you've been competing at the top echelon of the sport for as long as we both have, if you haven't figured out how to control pressure by now, or you get too stressed or something like that, you're really in the wrong sport. He's been competing at that elite level for such a long period of time. He'll be able to, whatever pressure he's under, he'll be able to deal with it. And I feel like I'm the same. Whatever pressure I'm under, I can handle it. I can deal with it. I've been through this. I think I can't even remember how many, 15 fights in the UFC. I'm used to this kind of pressure.
Physically, you're a lot bigger than he is. You are for a lot of your opponents. You're pretty big lightweight for the division. How much do you think that'll play a role in this fight?
I feel like everyone has attributes. It's just who can use those attributes to their advantage. I'm long and tall, that. It comes down to them and them having to close the distance. But he's shorter and stockier. It's if he can get in and fight at his range, then it's whoever can. Everyone knows. We both know what we need to do. I need to keep him at range. He needs to get in close and he needs to get his hands on me. So it's whoever can implement it.
Who have been some of your main training partners for this camp?
It's been good to have a lot of the boys back in the camp. Where our team's been running pretty smooth. Brad Riddell is a great. He's been a great tool to mimic. Shane Young also. These are both guys of a pretty similar height, pretty similar build. Stocky guys, real muscle bound, strong boys that when they get a hold of you, they can cause some problems. So I feel like I've had some pretty good training partners for this one.
How's this fight playing out on January 23rd? How do you envision the fight unfolding?
Man, it all goes well. I do my thing. Pick him apart, force him to take some risks, force him to take some shots, and then he runs into a bit of a landmine. And I think we all know what those are. Those are my two knees I got ready for him.
A win here, does that, obviously that gets you back in the driver's seat, but you probably feel like you need a win or two before getting in the title picture. Although if something falls out in the main event, you might get, in there as well, right?
It's a game of opportunities, man. It's a game of opportunities. You need to just set yourself up in the right spot. I feel like this fight puts me in the right spot. They had Michael Chandler as a backup for the title. I feel like I steal that hype. I take all of that from him. It puts me as back in title contention.
I agree. And last question, most important question of this interview: what is going to be your go-to during the quarantine? You're going to have to, obviously stay in for a bit. You got the Netflix loaded up. You got some video games. What are you going to be doing in that downtime?
Well, I'm definitely taking my PlayStation with me for the trip.
Smart man.
I have thought about this. I'm going to rewatch Vikings.
Good choice. That'll get you pumped up for the fight, right?
That's my favorite show. That's my favorite show. But I'm gonna rewatch it in entirety, and I feel like I'm gonna have the time to do that.
Dan, appreciate the time as always. I'll give you the last word here if you want to plug anything before we get out of here. Thanks again for the time.
No, I thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it very much, and let's not leave it that long between now our next chat, my friend.